Here we are back for episode 23 of The Pit. Today we are joined by the owner of one of the most historical brands in Call of Duty challenges, in my personal opinion. Team WaR owner Kevin, aka WaR Surge. We all know the man. How are we, Kevin?
Doing pretty good. It's a Friday, so I did this on purpose. I'm gonna be in a good mood regardless.
I like that from you as club. No, quality. I spoke about it there, right? My historical brand, in my opinion. So, like segment one, we've got Team WaR CoD History. I mean, before I start throwing into some questions, the first one for me is like I said there again, historical brand. For me, when I was mainly watching this competitive space, I mean, I think back to World War II, where I believe you first come into it. Black Ops 4, MW19, where you had like a real breakout
Yeah.
season. I mean, what what was the passion behind all of that? Like, because for me, out of nowhere, Team War just erupted into something of what it is
Yeah.
today.
That's a great question. And sometimes I gotta remind myself of why I'm here and kind of bring back that youthful like grind motivation I had. It gets old. It gets harder as you get older. I think like even like Nate has been talking about that how life changes. Like he just got married, just had a kid, and like priorities shift and stuff like that. But you still got to like find your way to keep going, because life does get in the way. But for me, the reason I started WaR was because I found out about competitive COD in 2013 when Black Ops 2 came out. Because my co-owner now, he actually was Parasite's teacher, and Parasite used to come to him and be like, "Yo, Mr. P," because that's usually how you call like people and your teachers. He was like, actually like a pro gamer. Like I'm actually been like traveling. Like I think he actually went to like London and stuff for a tournament back in MW3 days. And my cousin used to just like kind of blow him off, like, yeah, it's cool. And then in Black Ops 2, he saw him playing like on a like pro stage, like an MOG stage, and he was like, "Oh shit!" Like, he wasn't kidding. And then we started following him in his journey, and then that year was a really special year for him because he won champs. He was on For Equal Impact, which is like probably the best team to start like half of that year. And we all remember Adam Sloss Killa with the Choo Choo Train, and that event. And so yeah, so that's what got me into it, and I started playing League Play. I went down into the game battles, made my profile, started playing game battles, and yeah, started there. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the esport as a fan, and then I wanted to aspire to be a pro. But at that point, I was already in like freshman in college, so that's a big shift. And or I think I was maybe even a sophomore, but like that's a whole different beast that I had to tackle. And so then I got a girlfriend, so it's just like it's very like to make it as a pro, like you really have to dedicate everything to it, and you can't have roadblocks, essentially, especially in the beginning, because you're playing like 10 hours a day. Like that's usually what I think when my players play, my pro players now, they play like 10 hours a day. They play like 3 sets of scrims, look through VODs, and then you travel, go to tournaments. Back in the day, there's a lot more tournaments, which maybe we could talk about later. But yeah, so I never made it as a pro, and then I finished college. I got a banking job, and now it's just like I would just start spectating as a fan, of course. I always stayed as a fan, but then I just came to me. I was like, what if I start my own like little optic and try to make it into the next optic? And so that's kind of what started everything. And kind of like the purpose of that was, as I learned, it was just like seeing these kids' dreams come true of them, going through WaR and then becoming pro players. Was like that was a dream I once had. So me being able to help them take them to that next level is like fulfilling my dream almost through them. And then I started making a new dream of me being able to do this for a living, like one day, full time, like Nate Shot, like Hex and stuff. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
No, okay, no, I absolutely love that, and I mean, you've basically touched on it there, right? I mean, people who are 100% not familiar with Team War, is there ever, a sentence or two that you do to explain the brand and, the passion behind the org? Have you got a short slogan to break what WaR stands for down?
Yeah, I do. That's a great question. I had to think of this when I made a pitch deck and stuff for sponsors. And I was thinking to myself, what does war mean to me? And I was like, war can have different meanings to different people, and I think there's beauty in that. People could see it as a whole different thing. But for me personally, well, I come from an immigrant family. Didn't have a lot of money growing up. And had a lot of hardships. Didn't get everything I wanted, but I was spoiled in my own way, especially with love. I had loving parents who raised me to be a good person. But in life, I learned over the years, like, there's going to be a lot of battles that come, and you're going to lose some of them. There's going to be hardships you suffer. There's going to be breaks and heartbreaks, and it's going to happen, but that's part of life. And to me, it's like war is all about like going through those battles to hopefully overcome and win the war, whatever that might be to you. That could be success in many different types of form, like raising a family, getting a good job, being an entrepreneur. Like that war could be whatever that could be to you, on your end. I don't know what you aspire to be, but like that's kind of like in the end, it's pretty deep. I know it's deep in the stretching maybe to some, but like that's personally what it means to me. And so I know it's tricky because just like thieves, it kind of has a negative connotation to the word. So, got to find a way to twist it to be a good thing. Cause I know like right now, like nobody wants a real war in real life and like seeing people die, of course, like that's not what we want, but maybe we can make something good out of it through our branding and sense. So that's what it means to me.
Okay, I love that, and you've talked on the depth of it there, but Team War. I mean, when did that come to you? When was that like Team War? That is going to be my name.
So my cousin who was the one, is actually the founder of WaR. So he came up with the name. Back in the day, and I think Dashi has said that he did this too, but I used to be a quick scoper. So I used to do like 1v1 Rust on MW2, and then I got into competitive sniping, which was a thing. You could do 2v2s, 4v4s. It had to be quick scope only. There's certain maps like Scrapyard we would play. Um, and it became something like especially on YouTube, it was blowing up. It was like sniper leaderboards. I think Banks was involved under SOAR at one point. There's these other orgs named like Raw and Skies, and so I got into it, and then I built my own little clan, and then I started making a YouTube channel for it called M200, which is the name of the intervention in MW2. So it's an M200 intervention. That's the name of the gun. So I came up with the name M200, and then I started my like own little clan org that we called ourselves, and then I started playing in it. We got pretty good. That back in the day, you had to record like VODs to show proof to like the leaderboard, like the league, that you actually beat that team. And so we did that, and then we started doing montages out of it, like FaZe Clan. And then boom, I did that for like a year and a half, and then it went from competitive sniping to like me managing 30 people from like trick shotters, feeders, still having a competitive team. We're uploading like every other day. I think we had like 300 uploads within a year and a half. I had to delete a lot of them um, because of copyrighted music, and I didn't want my channel to get deleted. But yeah, this is back in the day, like when Machinima was like one of the only partners that were giving you money. Like we weren't making any money through Google, so it was straight like you had to get partnered with like Machinima. We got partnered with somebody else, who at the time were a little bit smaller than Machinima, but they were willing to give us more of a cut. So signed with them. So I started that, and then my co-owner used to do our big edits, and so that's how he got really involved into the YouTube world and all that space. And then once we started competing in Black Ops 2, he was like, I don't want to call ourselves M200 because that's sniping related, whatever. And I was like, and then he came up with the name Team War. And then he had an initial logo, which if I find, I'll show it to you. But um, so I played as a player under Team War during those years with him. And then as my kind of career is drifting off, he was just like, why don't you, instead of playing, come manage the team, and like I'll fund it. And I was like, no, like I'm not ready to hang up the sticks. I still think I can make it as a pro, even though he already knew at the time that I was going to make it as a pro. And then, and so then he kind of just stopped because he didn't have the time to like manage it. And then, so it kind of died out. And so when I came back and I was like, wait, I think I want to do this, I called him. I was like, hey, I want to build a brand. I want to build an org like Optic for esports. And then he was like, I'm fucking down. And I was like, he was like, what do you want to call it? And I was like, well, I really like the name Team War, like the one you have. And so I was like, I just want to rebrand it and stuff. He was like, do whatever you want with it. Let's do it. So I made a new logo and stuff like that, but it was already founded. So I already had the name in mind because I was like, it just flows. The way I knew I liked it is because you want the name to kind of be easy to go with a gamer tag after, right? It's like
Yeah.
Optic Predator, Optic Scump. You know, you like all these names, it just flows. And so like M200, blah, 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 flowed, but it didn't make sense because it was the name of a sniper. So I was like, War Surge, you know, War Karma, War Pred. Like it just felt like it flowed a little bit. I wish we brought back more of that, like kind of gamer tag feel from like fucking 2010.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why it stuck with that name.
No, cool. I always loving that question. To a brand owner, it's always cool to get to know the behind the scenes. But you said about that new
Yep.
logo, right? The Team War one. We've seen it on
Yep.
some incredible stages, right? So we've had the champs run in BO4, winning Challengers Finals in 2020, the Paris Open win, third at
Yep.
Challenger Finals in Vanguard, online cup wins across all the regions or both regions. Sorry, is there a certain
Yep.
one or multiple ones that hold a special place in your heart?
Um, I would say Champs 2019 was special. Um, I was there. I was there probably so like before people the public there was matches because there was 32 teams back then. So we went through pools and in our group was Genji it was Genji E6 and Fuego. Yeah, Fuego had Harry actually
Yeah.
and Traxter. And then us. And so we were able to watch the pool matches. Me and my cousin, my co-owner, we were able to watch the pool matches together, and kind of like always like when you when me and my cousin in the beginning we used to talk and like we would get eliminated in fucking top 80 or whatever and we'd go back to our hotels. We always just daydreamed. We're dreamers in the end. Like we always just daydreamed about the idea of like being friends with the optics, the envies, the phase people of the world and being like part of that group, right? Like that's something like we just dreamed about, just like because we're just fans of them and we're like one day hopefully we can make it and we're like become part of that brotherhood. And so that's why I worked really hard for. And being in that venue where we were like next to the optics, next to the envies, next to the Gen Gs, E Uniteds, all that, like we're like belonged. And then when we qualified, like one of the most special moments is you walk in to the UCLA pavilion and they had like a freaking like a running like panel that had all the logos of all the teams who were participants, and you would see ours, and you would see 100 Thieves right next to it. You would see FaZe right next to it over there. Then you enter the arena, and there was also a running panel around the whole arena, and you would see our logo. And that's when I was like, this is what I always dreamed about, right? Being part of that brotherhood kind of thing. Even though I'm not at the time, I was still like we're the amateur team, whatever. But like being part of that moment was like I felt like a big success, that we made it this far so far, in a short period of time because that was our second year into doing it. So that holds a special place, and of course, Champs 2020 when we won that was a special place in my heart, because that was like our first big, big, big win, as an org, and I just remember like getting the tweet ready because back then I didn't have a full team. It was like literally me, Molly, and my co-owner, and like maybe a few others like Dewey. Uh, and then I was running all the socials with Molly, and like I had the tweet ready with my co-owner, like prepping like what we're gonna say. I think I copied Courage's like Dynasty is cemented in part of it, and I was like, all right. Then we go back to watch the rest of it, and then I just wanted to be ready. Like once we won, I come over here, press enter, and click that we won. and I was confident that we were gonna win that. But it was a hard fought battle, and it was an amazing storyline because we're playing against. I mean, people you guys now know we're playing against Insight. We're playing against Kleenex. We're playing against Detain, who's on your team. We're playing against Maple and Chain and all those guys. They guys could probably heard of, but like two of those first names are on Toronto Ultra. Like you guys are seeing winning a lot, and we beat them. So it's just like we didn't just beat some random Europeans. We're playing in some now, as you guys know, some really good players.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we built that rivalry, kind of like what we're trying to build right now with Omit. And it was fun. So it's just a great time.
No. Yeah. Incredible. And I mean, you touched on some of the players there. Like, I mean, some of the players you've had, the caliber of player you've had under your brand over the years. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. So, I mean, we could talk about each one of those players for a number of hours. So, I've come up with this question where we can sort of, break that one down into a shorter time frame. So, we've
Okay.
got. Uh, if you had to, right, so you're going into next season, right, with no roster at all. If you had the power yourself to form a 4-player roster from the players who have played under WaR before, while they are all in their prime, what 4 players are you going to pick? And
Oh,
you can't bail out with anyone from your current roster.
shit. Prime. Damn. Oh, okay. So I can't pick anybody in my current roster.
No.
Okay. Fuck. Okay. All right. That's fair. Um, I would build, and I've talked to Dylan Envoy about this. Um, this past champs at Vegas, I was just like, because he was like, "When are you gonna get in the league?" I was like, "Fuck, I'm fucking trying to make up these 25 million somehow, but I also don't know if that makes sense. I'm waiting for that shit to go down to at least 10 million to make sense." And now we just found out it's 0. But but I told him like if I was to come in, like he'd be the person I want to build around even to this day. But in prime, I would take Dylan Envoy. I would take Cammy. This is where it gets tough. All right, prime. All right, so I have a sub. I have an AR. I would take Stevo Vortex because you guys understand how much this guy knows how to win. So I'd put Stevo and Envoy together, Cammy, and I need like a flex. I could do both. Afro comes to mind. I feel like he could probably do both. Because you know what it is? A lot of times the game in the beginning starts AR heavy, but by the end of it, it becomes sub dominant,
Yeah.
be honest. And so I'm trying to think about winning champs at this point. So I might not even mind having 3 subs, to be honest. And like, occasionally pull out an AR and any of these sub players. So I mean, like, that could be pretty deadly. Envoy, Afro, Stevo, Cammy. That could be pretty sick. That's a lot of EUs. I'm wondering if I could balance that out.
You got to drop someone now, though.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's tough. I love Dave too.
Oh,
Dave
yeah.
is that guy was stiff. That guy did not move with
Him
that
and
AR.
Steve as well, when they were both, in their prime together. Ooh.
I love Dave.
Yeah.
Dave is underrated. Dave, I hate that they got kind of like scapegoated by that one year they had an Epsilon where they didn't
Yeah.
see success, and then like all of a sudden people just said like they're washed or whatever. It's like bullshit. They're fucking good. Fuck, that's hard. I would take something like that and maybe add Dave and he be him and Afro would probably interchange and
Yeah.
just like depending on what game it is. If it is AR dominant, I'd probably put Dave in. If it's more sub dominant, then I would probably put Afro in it. So that'd probably be the answer I give you. But then there's also like Nero, fucking he's disgusting too. Um, he didn't technically play under any of our esports teams, but I had him for a year and a half as a streamer when he was underage, and then when he became of age, he like didn't take long to get into league.
Yeah.
Um, I would have someone like I would tell you I would go as far as coaches even. I would tell you I'd probably put Atura and B Sport Josh as coaches. Um, and I would put like, like right now, I'm good friends with somebody who was the GM of Toronto Ultra. I probably put him as like a GM or something. But yeah, that'd be sick roster probably, to be honest.
Sounds
Um,
incredible, man. I think you'd have a lot of the EU backing from it as well, to be
oh
honest.
yeah, I'd
You'd have
get
a big
EU
fan
back in
base.
and be like, I know, but I gotta put Dylan in there.
Yeah.
I thought in the end, I think the success, I think doing stuff like this will never work. Honestly, I got it. I think the best formula is to like like build around a player. So pick a player you want,
Yeah.
and then kind of let them kind of put the pieces together, and then play devil's advocate. I think that's what I've done in the past, and we've seen success. So I've in the past I let Steve kind of run the teams, or B Sport Josh run the team, and then I would approve the decisions. Like if we drop somebody, like the decision. I remember in 2020 when we were letting go, I think of Petey, um, and they wanted to bring Afro in. Like I was very not a fan of that because I didn't know who Afro was, and then while that was happening, we had the opportunity to bring in Chain from who was on Singularity and
Well,
arguably probably the best player that year from Challengers. Like that kid was just nasty. And so he was thinking about joining our team. So it was between Afro and Chain, and then I was like, "Fuck, we should go for Chain because he's already proven himself this year that he's like one of the best in the game." And then I think we ended up going with Afro and taking a chance with him, even though he had proven himself. And then he ended up like definitely like being a big part of why we won champs that year. He was so good.
oh, that man's incredible. You've got no arguments from me on that one, but yeah,
And I better
caliber.
not get
Incredible.
roasted by any of my other players. I didn't say your name. This is
You've
on
got
the
so
spot.
many.
I
There
got
must be
too
about
many.
100 of them.
I need to see the list. I mean, there's like, I would get like Teddy Rex as like for sure, at least our coaching staff on the fucking S&D side, like our Tupac. He'd be like our
Oh,
Tupac.
that's a good shout.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
boy Teddy.
No.
That's a
What?
good question. Fuck.
Oh,
That's
no.
hard. In their
Class.
prime. You said
Yeah.
in their prime. I was like, fuck.
Oh, I mean, with some of them players, right, and everything we've spoke about already, I mean, you had so much success in that space as we know it. So, I mean, what was it like from your perspective after having such success in the old open bracket format to then see it change to franchising? I mean, how did that feel? It felt like overnight we'd lost everything that we knew.
It was hard. It was very hard. I felt like we're definitely gonna be taking a step back as an amateur org, and I felt like gate kept, like from finally like we just talked about. I finally felt like I was making it into the brotherhood, and not only that, but we actually made waves. We took out the number 2 team in the world in Gen G at the time, and then we took out Splice, who I think was like not ranked in 9th or something at the time in the world. Who had the likes of fucking Jerd, who fucking Temp, like great team, and and then we just get separated, and I'm just like, damn, like I was like, I mean, but the thing was like, what else am I supposed to do? I don't have 25 million to even contemplate. We're like, we're still like just 2 partners right now. It's just we don't have any investors. It's just me and one co-owner with a dream, and especially at that time, we're still beginning. That was our first like breakout, right? So it's just like, there's no way. And like we hadn't like built our legacy yet with the league. It was like, the league was like, oh look, it's just an amateur team. Now they know who we are, but because we've been here for 7 years. But like it was at the time, it was tough for sure. But I tried to stay positive, and I was like, well, let's see what comes out of it. It seems like they were gonna support us a lot and make sure there's still like a path to pro and a way for us to become like the optic of challengers, which I would say like we did a pretty good job at doing, because when people think of challengers, they usually think of us. Um, and The first year I would say went pretty good because we had somebody we could contact, and had somebody communicating with us if something went wrong, like in Minnesota where we got DQ'd a map because we were late 10 minutes to our match, but we weren't really late. My captain Stevo was fucking puking right next to our station because he got food poisoning, and the paramedics were watching him and looking at him while they're throwing up into a puke bag. And then we got DQ'd a fucking map and almost got DQ'd the whole thing. And I got really mad about that. I took it to Twitter. I was like, I didn't like fucking curse out the league, but I just basically said like, this is what happened and I don't think it's okay. And then I got somebody to reach out to me after that, and I had to contact the rest of the year. So that was nice, and it felt like they were looking after us. The money was there. People were spending money on buyouts, stuff like that. So, but I had concerns. I had concerns already. I had concerns. I think a big problem is how the hell do esports orgs and challengers make money? Because we're just spending, and I don't see the return. So yeah, we could take a price cut, but but the prizes is not that big. I mean, they were that year, but my situation was I couldn't afford salary because I didn't have investors like that to pay salary. So I made a deal with them that they kept 100% of their prize pool, and then I would just fully fund them to tournaments, which is a good deal for what I could right at the time. Um, but then there's the buyout situation, and that kept getting worse and worse. I told the rep, I was like, there needs to be a minimum buyout contract, like with the pro teams know, because basically what was starting to happen was, and this is across all the challenger orgs I was talking to, they were getting strong armed by the pro teams, and they're like, Activision, if you want, like we don't want to pay you guys, and if anything, we'll just tell Activision that you're gatekeeping this player from us, and then they'll force you to turn the player over. I've heard that happen with other orgs,
Wow.
and that's not cool. And I started noticing that, and I think as those pro teams started seeing that they weren't making as much money as they were hoping to, it became harder for them to even do it. So we had some successful buyouts, say like for New York, was a good one. I even got some money from fucking Paris, which is crazy because they don't even spend money, but which is nuts. I didn't get a lot, but I got something, and I was just like, screw that. So I've had some successful, but I've had others where it's just like they didn't want to pay, and then the players come to me and they're DMing me is like, you're keeping me from the league. You told me you wouldn't do this, like blah blah blah. I'm gonna take this to Twitter and call you guys out. And I'm like, no, let me handle the business. I will make sure you get in the league. I've never and still have never gate kept any player from getting in the league. Whenever a league team has ever wanted one of our players, it's usually been super successful in that terms of in the end. But like, it's a business. We got to make a business.
Yeah.
Challenger teams need to make money. Amateur teams need to make money. If not, we're not going to be here. And you've seen that. You've seen that. You've seen how many teams are just gone and how little of orgs there are now, like compared to in the beginning. It's just and that's bad because who else is going to fund these players?
No. Yeah.
I mean, are they going to fund themselves like the rest of the time? Like that's going to suck for them. That's gonna. What is an 18-year-old supposed to do? Like
No.
pay thousands of dollars on their own. Like you need orgs like us to be here, but we need a purpose to be here too. So
No.
yeah.
100%. If not, I mean, it's the only sustainable way. Every single party has to make money in this equation. If not, it's not sustainable, and we're just going to keep going further and further down the ladder like we have been for the
Mm-hmm.
last how many years. It's healthy for a brand to make money. If you don't expect a brand to make money, I mean, you need to have
Yeah.
a good hard think. But try not go on a
Exactly.
tangent too much, mate. But
No, no, absolutely. I mean, it is what it is, and you
yeah,
just gotta. There's ways to, I guess, go around it. I mean, I think in the end, like being part of, like we were talking before this podcast is like, you know, uh, being part of this is something special, and it gives you something special in return. And the people you meet, the people you see, and all that stuff matters. And growing your network matters. And I'm thankful that esports is a thing in COD. Like it's freaking awesome, and I just want to see it grow. And so a lot of like things that might come out as frustration, in the end, at the bottom of it, the deep down truth is we want to see this grow. We want to see this blossom, and we just want to be part of it.
yep. Retweet
Yep.
on that one. I mean, I mean, what a lovely way to end segment one as well. So I mean, we're on to segment two, the Modern Warfare 3 season. We're at the
Yep.
present. I mean, at the start of this year, I mean, did you plan to have a team in challengers this year before the superstar roster of Nasty Beans, Bans, and Hixie were on the market?
No, no, I didn't. If you guys didn't, for those who didn't know and didn't see me cry on camera, after 6 years, I decided that we were gonna back out of challengers after Boston Major of last year in Modern Warfare 2, because we were just burning cash and to be honest, we're running out of it because the recession is starting to hit and the sponsorships are not there like they used to be. Um, and so it was hard to like get like help from the funding side, and times were tough. So we, we I was made aware that this was going to happen with the esports recession before it kind of technically happened right away, and that person um, advised me to just survive and kind of weather the storm that's happening right now with esports, and then take advantage of those opportunities that for those orgs that don't make it, maybe those spots open up for you so down the line. So kind of just wait it out and just survive. Don't over leverage yourself and put yourself in a hole money wise, and where you can't do it anymore. So we backed out for that reason, and it was hard. It was a very tough decision, and I felt like I lost a part of me during that process in that year. And then going into this year, I saw that team was still on the market, and I was like, we're reaching onto the first major. And I was like, fuck, nobody's picked them up. So I hit them up and I made a deal happen with them. And then I was supposed to only be a one event thing, just as like kind of like a spark. And then next thing you know, I'm still here and I'm stuck with Marky B. So
Oh,
love
that's
you, Mark.
quali- oh, that is incredible. But yeah, I mean, it was. I think the Omen roster was still on the market as well for a pretty long period, well, longer than I expected. And I was like, why are these two rosters,
Yeah.
there? And then I was like, are they wanting too much, And then you're looking at them
Yeah.
tweet out, and it's like, well, clearly not. Like, they just generally want something half decent. Like, someone could have got a very
Yeah.
good deal, but I mean, apart from yourselves and Omen stepping in, no one else really fancied it, which was, I mean, surprising. Apart from obviously we had
Yeah.
Noctum that had a team, revived. Like the brands that were already there and had a team, then I understand, right? You're not going to get rid of what you've built to, maybe go after a
Right.
couple of seats. Like it's just not going to happen. But no one else stepping in was
Yeah.
crazy to me. So I guess just to stem off of that, is it? I always say in this space right now, it's just take an opportunity was there. Is that what you saw? You was like, this is an opportunity that I can't really turn down. Just everything makes sense.
Yeah. Especially with that roster that we initially had, it was fucking Vance, Beans, Nasty, Hixie. Like you
Uh,
can't drop that. So it's just like, again, the deal we made with them, there's no way we make any money. There's nothing in this contract that makes us any money with this deal. Like I knew I was gonna burn cash, but I was trying to burn the least amount of cash. So I made a deal where we are burning cash, but will we make enough impressions? Will we make enough clicks? Will we get enough people engagement to make this investment make sense? And our answer was yes.
yeah,
And so that's why we did that. Um, and then it's kind of like fucking. It's been tough because I mean I say this all the time. We have a target over our heads. I feel like every CDL team has a war logo somewhere. It's like every year, and they see, okay, who plays for war this year? All right, we're gonna poach this motherfucker over here and this motherfucker over there, because every year we get poached every year, and it's awesome because in the end, I mean, it goes back to why I started this to begin with, but it also like I want to win, and so selfishly,
yeah,
I don't like roster changes because you have to relearn team chemistry, you have to relearn strats, you have to constantly teach somebody new stuff, and it gets tiring. And so it's happened 2 majors in a row where one of our players gets poached. The first one was Nasty by LA Thieves, and the second one was Beans, most recently to Boston. And it sucks, but especially those two guys are really awesome,
yeah.
people, and but we got to continue moving forward and do what the best we have. Um, but but yeah,
I've actually got that here right further down in this segment, so I'm just going to throw to it. I mean, we've got Beans and Nasty went to the league, and now you've got another league player right under you who we believe is still homed under 100T, which is Afro. I mean,
He is. Yeah.
why does WaR find itself a constant home for these bigger players who are in and out of the league? I mean, is it unrestricted contracts, or is it ultimately just because you've got the best for the player at heart?
I think it's a combination of things. I think at the bottom of it is almost every player, almost every person, a lot of people in this league know who I am, know who WaR is. We've been here 7 years. They know they can. Number one thing, they could trust us. They trust us that we're going to take care of them. We don't go back on our word. We don't overpromise. And underdeliver. We stick by our word on usually on those cases with our esports teams and take care of them. And so I'm usually a straight up guy. Like, this is what we can afford. This is what we can do. And if anything, a lot of times I get extended out and I do more, for them if they need it. But it's because I care. And so they usually know who I am and know I've been here, and they've seen the success. They've seen the success stories they've had. They've seen all the probably close to 20 players that have gone through a system into the league. Probably add 2 more now to that number. It's I think they have a good time and finding a home with our brand and our people. We have a good support staff behind working very hard to hopefully shine a light on them. And like, for example, at Boston, I was there. I used to go to the events. I was there. I was live streaming every match that wasn't on the CDL official broadcast. I was getting their waters or Red Bulls. We had a team dinner. I try to make it as fucking official as a FaZe clan as I can, with the 1% budget that I have of those teams, and that's what it's all about. They show you care. We also, this year, like I said, we're not paying like salaries or anything because we can't afford that. But we have them on unrestricted, so they don't have a buyouts tied to them. They could leave really easily, and that transaction makes it very, very easy. And I did that purposely because I also know the times. Like I said, like, these pro teams do not want to spend money. I've been losing money a lot, for the most part, and so they don't have money to throw around for buyouts like they used to. And so I understand that, and so I had to work around the times and adapt to that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I, quality. I mean, and just a very honest answer from what the space is right now. But we said about in the league, we've touched on it. I mean, Nasty, right? Did you
Yeah.
expect him after the Boston placement as well to go to the league so quickly, or was it pre-Boston? Were you expecting it, or was it just out of nowhere?
No, it was out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was it might have been out of nowhere for him too. Cause yeah, we got top 12. That's fucking unbearable to even think about. I can't believe we lost, to be honest. We should have been at least top 3 of that caliber players, but we did unfortunately get a patch like literally like 3
yes,
days before the event, and we went from like, being undoubtedly the number 1 EU team at the time. We had like won all the tournaments basically leading up to the thing, and then we have that patch, and then we fucking struggling to win a hard point because they changed the spawns, and we're also at disadvantage with the EU guys because they have to travel a little bit earlier than the NA guys because they live further and that
yeah,
adapt to the time change and the new time zone and all that stuff. So they got 1 or 2 less days of practice than the NA teams, which you might not think is a lot, but it is,
oh,
especially when this game is all it fucking comes down to seconds and inches. Like, everything matters. And so yeah, it's unfortunate. I think if we were played on the pre-patch, I think you would have seen a whole different result, undoubtedly. And it sucks. It is what it is. But that's Call of Duty for us. I mean, I don't know any other esport that pulls out a patch out of their ass 2 days before an event, but
no.
here we are.
And it's not a one-time thing. It's happened multiple times now. It's almost expected. It's crazy, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. But no, I mean, love to see him go. And then we saw Harry in the other way when Nasty went. I mean, how I know as a organ you don't have the most amount of say. You can be like no sometimes if it's terrible from a brand point of view. But what was the vibe with Harry?
Yeah.
Was it something you really wanted? Were you happy
I
to have him?
was not involved in that at
Yeah,
all. And I I have a good friend, Austin. He was the CEO of Deviants Gaming, which was where Harry was. And if I was ever wanting to poach another player from a different org that I like have a relationship with, and like I'm friends with them, like I usually message them like, hey, like the team wants to poach him, blah blah blah. But I had no idea. He messaged me and told me it happened before my players even told me they're picking up Harry. So I think it was one of those things where Harry saw the opportunity. He really wanted to play with Bance and Co. and wanted to jump ships. Um, but like I said earlier, I usually that's kind of usually how I roll. I like to be more involved, but like in this case, they jumped at the opportunity really swiftly. Um, and in the end, the players know best. I'm not a player anymore, and I don't play like 10 hours a day like they do. So like for me to be like, yeah, you should pick up this player or that player. Like I'm limited on that because I trust that they know what's best for them. They want to win, right?
Yeah.
So if they think this player is gonna help them win the most, then that's the option.
No, awesome.
Yeah.
And going on a bit of a rogue one with that, like, if there has there ever been a time where they've like a team has wanted to bring a player in and you're like, look, I'd love to let you do this, but we physically can't have this player under the brand. Like, is there ever a time there where you do step in and you're like, no?
Yeah, they this year they hit me up after Hixie left. They wanted to bring back Jimbo to Team War. And I said no chance we're doing that. So I hacked out Jimbo out of the situation, but that was probably one of the only times I could think of that I said no. Let me try to think. I do remember we wanted when Dylan Envoy was playing for us, he was a little shit. He was like
Yes.
he was toxic. And I remember my co-owner wanted to drop him for a little bit. Um because and I think I told Dylan this at one point, but I uh I was like, no, he's too good. We got to keep him. He was just like, he just go off the rails back in the day. And I was just like, dude, I mean, you got to be careful with the brand. You got to be, yeah, so I would have to tell Dylan, like, yo, chill. but, um, but that was probably one of the only times where I was like close to not wanting to pick somebody up. I don't think I've like had any bad blood if anybody would be like, no, don't pick him up.
Oh,
I think about,
fair enough.
no.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What would ask?
I
Oh,
mean, I like I said earlier, I'll play devil's advocate. Like bringing on Afro that year we won champs. I was wanting Chain over him,
yeah.
and I was going back and forth with Steve-O on that one and Roper and stuff. But in the end, I was like, in the end, I'm gonna let this be your call. Um, don't prove me right because I want to win. So
I like
prove
that.
me wrong, and win. And he was like, and they did. So I'm glad that happened.
No, I love that. I mean, so since what we've already spoke about, right? We've had Beans go to the league. You've had Hixie out the door. In we've now got a roster of for Elite Stage 2. You've got Afro, who's back in challengers. We've got F Dot. You've got from Revived, and alongside Bance and Tarry. I mean, we've had match day 2 now of Elite Stage 1. Your playoff spot still looks interesting, nothing secured. What's the vibe with the
Yeah.
new team? How are you enjoying the new team? I mean, how is it as of right now after this week's matches?
Uh, Yesterday was tough. We got
Mm,
shit on by fucking Falcons, dude. That was not fun to see. I didn't like that at all. We did not look good yesterday, and even the day before, losing to that team. I didn't even know who the fuck those guys were. To be honest with you, no offense, but I had no idea who those French players were at all. And all I saw was them talking shit to Ant from the rotation, and
yeah,
that kind of pissed me off. We had a meme ready to go. I wanted to meme that kid who was talking shit and called him a dick writer. So I was gonna have like I had my designer make put the logo of Ant. It was like, I think that kid tweeted a picture of Ant eating a banana, but he's like, it looked like he was freaking going
yeah.
deep on that thing. And so I had a meme ready where I put the logo of that org
Oh
on Ant's
wow.
head, and then I
Oh,
was gonna put an L on the banana. So he's like sucking the org's sucking on the L. Um, I don't like people being mean. So I mean, the org ended up sending us a nice, like, really nice message DM apparently, and in the end, it's a player that really was provoking that. But I don't like people being like nasty with other people that
Yeah.
have shown like they support the scene and stuff like that. Like, I'm not a fan for that. And if you do that, then you lose a lot of respect from me, um, because you don't understand the work that person has put in to make this scene keep thriving. So yeah, I was ready to have Ants back, and then we fucking lost. So I was pretty disappointed in that, and then we lost the Falcons yesterday in a 3-0
Oh no.
fashion. I've never seen us lose like that before, and
Yeah.
you gotta understand it's a new team. It's new maps, everything. So it's just like if we're in a hard spot. I think MWIII is in the driver's seat for the fact that like they've had basically that roster core with Wee Man, Stevo, and Mythics since the beginning, right? And then they brought Hixie before Major 2, so they've been working with him for quite a bit. And then we on the other hand, we lost a player, brought in a player, lost a player,
Yeah.
brought in a player, one, and then Ixie also, that was a shitty situation because he dipped on us like right before the major. I think like a week or two before the major, and so we had to scramble and get Denza out of retirement and tell him, ask him to come back, and luckily he did, and he showed up for us during that major. But yeah, so it's just been a lot for us, and I hope people understand that. And again, we have a young star in F dot where he's a 19-year-old, so he has a lot to prove and a lot to learn. So hopefully, with like the experience that these two coaches have and some of his peers, that he could develop really quickly and show up for us in those clutch moments.
Yeah. No, I think you've got to, if you can keep hold of him, I think you've got a gem for the future for sure. I like the roster change, but I mean, let's just get onto it, right? I mean, thoughts on the Omit rivalry brewing. I mean, do you enjoy the constant battles, as like you said earlier? Like back in the day when the format was different. Is it good for Is it good for storylines? Is it good for the analytics? I mean, just how do you view it from a war owner standpoint?
I don't view it. I create it. You think this stuff just happens magically? No, 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 no. They're all Muppets. See, we make things happen. Okay, so I've always believed in storylines. I believe that our esports strives off of storylines and drama and entertainment. That's in the end. This is why people watch our matches. They want to be entertained. If you give them nothing to care about, they're not going to care about the esport. Period. It's a whole different esport, especially COD. I think Halo is probably closest to us right now, but League of Legends and CS:GO, those are a different beast where the gameplay speaks for itself and people just watch for the gameplay. But people want to watch for storylines. Right now, the most anticipated matchup people want to see right now is fucking like Draza versus Scrappy, right? Because all the drama that happens on Twitter. So, um, my cat's trying to get into my door, and I see his little fucking hand coming through the bottom. Oh my god,
He wants a
lost
bit of the
fool.
Omit action.
Oh my gosh. But then he's gonna jump around. I don't. Anyways, so yeah, people want to see that matchup now more than ever because of that. And so I think that why stop that at the pro side? I know there's definitely beef behind the scenes between some of these players on the challengers. So it's our jobs as orgs to kind of give that spotlight. So I've kind of crafted that, and then you know, um, in the end, it usually does become a real true rivalry like there is now, where I genuinely fucking don't. I hate losing to that org. I know they're doing great things and deep down, but it's something about like the idea of like watching a Barcelona versus Real Madrid every time that Clasico hits. Like those fans hate each other, and that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want our fans to hate each other, and talk shit to each other when each other like that's a part of sports, and that's one of those parts of traditional sports that I love as part of that should be part of our esport as well. So yeah, that's what I
Quality.
have to say to that.
And then last one for the Modern Warfare 3 season, then we can get on some of the the juicy stuff is I mean, this season, right? You've won Cup 4, second in Elite Stage 1, second in 4 of the Cups, top 6 at Miami, top 12 at Boston. I mean, for me, that's a pretty solid year. Do you think you can finish the year stronger than you started with the roster you currently have compared to what you did at the start with the star-studded roster? I mean, how many dubs can we see out of you this year?
I don't know how many dubs we're gonna end up with, but I will just say I am not happy with second place. We have a winning culture, and I want to do is win. That's why I'm making moves like right now with B Sport, bringing him on. We want to win. I don't give a care. I don't give a fuck if we get second place every event, and people are like, "That's a success for us." I'm like, "No, it's not for me." I want to make our fans proud. I want to make our sponsors proud. I want to make myself and my players don't hate fucking losing. So it's just like we're all in on first or nothing. So every event coming up, we have one goal in mind, and that's to win. And if we don't win, then we got to go back to the drawing board and get better until we win. So, of course, the best dub to get for sure is champs, and that's the one I'm like, hoping to God that we win because that's the big one. That's the one that matters the most in the end. And we're gonna, like I said, we might go through some battles where we lose, but hopefully we win the war at the end of the season.
Love that. Fitting way to end the segment. So let's get on
Yep.
to segment 3. I mean, the future in EU challenges. I mean, again, we can cover a magnitude of stuff in this section. I mean, but quickly, plans for Toronto and beyond. I mean, are we going to see you in Toronto in the capacity you're at now with all the players that you have under the roster, and for the rest of the EU season, are we going to see this same war in EU challenges, or is it a case of Toronto then done?
No, no, we're locked in for the rest of the year with this team, and yeah, so I mean, we have only really one major left because Major 4 is gonna be hosted with no fans, no challengers. So um, was hoping for like a pro am surprise or something like that. That would have been dope. But so yeah, so we have Toronto coming up, big tournament. That'd be great to show a lot of progress there. Hopefully, take that. But yeah, our goal in mind is we still have that. We still have another elite. We still have plenty of cups, and then we have champs. So just get better every day. That's the thing. I think Scump used to tweet that get better, you know, get better today or something. So you gotta get better every day, and I think this team, and I mean our first roster started off so hot, so we got to find that confidence again and build that team chem up. But yeah, I think people like Afro who just who got dropped from the starting roster has a lot to prove, and so this is his time to shine and show that he's still alpha over over this this league and that he belongs to be back in the main stage. And that's kind of like the hunger that's been driving, I would say, the baseline of this team throughout the since we started is like all these players to start with like had that same mentality. Is like we don't belong here. We belong in the main stage. We belong on the CDL, main broadcast and under pro teams, and we're here to prove that. So that's been kind of like the mental going into every event, and I think that's going to be the same.
Incredible. I mean, love it. I mean, I've got here as well the future. How many more years can WaR continue to operate at its current rate in EU challenges with how much of a money pit it is? There's another way to put it. You really are. It's a hard space to even break even in.
Um, I don't know. I think we're pretty good with managing our money. Um, we're not spending $300,000 like Sentinels tweeted out that one time, and that they're losing $300,000 a month and needed crowdfunding. So you can say we're in a way better spot than that. We're not in a like dire state where we need funding from like to survive or anything like that. I think we played our cards right when we needed to, and I'm very attentive to the deals we're making with what we have to afford, and we make the best out of everything. But I think long term future is like, we want to be part of that expansion list that hopefully one day will come to fruition. And we're working on things behind the scenes to, if we do get the opportunity, which hopefully we do, we're ready to strike and actually be able to spend money to build winning rosters. So we have something. I'm gonna have some things working on the back end to kind of support that, and especially if it does come to fruition, that we're ready to go. So I'll say that. So my mentality hasn't changed since the last couple of years. I think war's done its time here in challengers, and in order for us to grow as an org at this point, we really need to be on the main stage alongside the phases and stuff, because I think we'll show that we do care. We want to be here and we want to put in the work like the top orgs do, like Optic and stuff
Yeah.
with content, and Toronto Ultra is another shout. That they actually, you could tell they really care and they're invested.
Yeah. No. For sure. Well, you said. I mean, you said it there, right? COD League. You've been vocal
Like
about it on the timeline as well.
for me, if we get in the league, pray to God we do. Uh, I want to be the one that helps throw that London event everybody's been dying to. It just makes sense. It just makes sense.
Wow.
I mean, we all want it. We've always, we have a EU base that we support. I would say we've shown more support than London Royal Ravens did during their time. And we want to do London the right way. So, I want to get us back there. So if we were to get in lead, that's what be one of my first tasks. How the hell do we get us to fucking London again? Because it's due time. I need to see Baker out there fucking drinking with boozer and shit, doing shoeies and shit. Like we need to be back there with the chance of Tommy and all them. We need to be back there. So that'd be my first task probably, is if I get a spot.
It was incredible. I mean, how likely is it that WaR is in the Pro League in the coming years if the format stays the same?
So I mean, a lot of the stuff is going to change. There's no more entry fee.
Yeah.
They took that away. That was the biggest barrier of entry for us. It was raising $25 million on top of raising money to pay salaries and staff. So that's a huge thing. So I would say we had talks with the league earlier this year, because I was very adamant that WaR, like all those tweets you guys saw of like us putting like Arizona Spartans and like who wants to see us in the league, they weren't just clickbaits. They were like, I was actually talking to the league. I made the league aware that I want to be part of it, a part of the CDL, and this is my vision. And it was cool because the person we talked to at the time knew exactly who we were already. Didn't ask me to do any weird introduction of who we were or whatever. He was like, I know. He was like, we already know who Team WaR is. We like who you guys are doing. We like what you guys are about. And I told him ideas I had for monetization on and what should change to make it more successful, the league, and customized. And they liked what we said, and they told us that we'd be part of that list of the expansion, that put our name on the list alongside other orgs that or messaged them as well, and had talks with. So we're at least on the list. It's a fact of do they pick us over Space Station or uh, uh I don't know, the other orgs I saw, Pioneers. I mean, people are tweeting Cloud9, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason, like, I think we, you know, I think it would be sick if we got a spot specifically, is because I think it's about the message they would be giving. Um, every player who plays through challengers, their goal is what, to make it as a pro, right?
Yeah.
And that's great. And when they do it, it's awesome. And it's a success story for them, and their dreams come true. But what about the challenger orgs? What's their dreams? I would say your dream is to one day have your own knock them skin in the game, to be playing alongside the likes of Optic, the Phases, the Thieves. That's your dream too. So I think if we were to get in the league, if we were hopefully to get this spot, it would hopefully give confidence and motivation for orgs like you and others, that you guys, that we could make it to as the amateur orgs, that we could be given that shot where we have our in-game skins, and we could finally make money and monetization out of this, and not just burning money in the amateur circuit that we are currently in. I think that's really important for the community too, because we would be You know, we'd be like the challenger org that made it finally. You know, and we'd be putting the challenger scene on our back because that's where we grew up and that's where we were born. We were born in that passion pit. So I think that message would go a long way versus just like again just getting a TSM or a Cloud9 who did their little stint at one point years ago before the CDL and then left. You know, versus us who've been here since 2017, since the first event of World War II. You know, and we're still here.
No.
So that says a lot, and that sends a big message. So I mean, we're there's a lot to be done before I could give you a percentage chance of us making a league. But every like, every comment, every time you tag colleague and telling them that you want Warren matters. I'll say that they see that stuff. So please keep showing support, and hopefully, like I said, we all have room to eat in this, and we get our chance to eat finally, and people like you have a motivation that you guys could do it too, because I think you could.
Yeah.
I think as long as you're in here for the right reasons, I think you could, and we'll just keep fighting.
Agreed. Agreed. But I mean, if shit like you said, there's no buy-ins now for the league. So assuming that expansion does happen next year to 16, which I mean I hope we see. Do you know the process? How does them 4 spaces? How do they get chosen? Do you reckon it will go to the teams that are in it, a fan vote, a league committee? Like, what's that process going to look like? Do you have any idea?
That's no,
No.
that's super kept on the wraps. That's something beyond us that we wouldn't even know. There's definitely going to be an application process, like a formal process, probably interviews, decks will probably be able to be shown and stuff like that. But I think the starting point is yeah, like I think they will you have to first show your interest and I mean they will take the call if it's an org that's shown credit and worth taking a call. So we're lucky enough to we're given that call that at the beginning of the year, but at that time, you know, there is no when we had that call, there's no talks like we talked about expansion, but they said they weren't expanding because they're trying to still figure out ways to make the other 12 teams more money because they noted that if we add more 4 teams this year, that's just less money the other 12 teams are going to be able to get, which makes sense. So I think all these moves that they came out with and how to monetize better and how to make those teams more money is that first step, right? Make those 12 teams happy, make a model that makes sense, and then expand. So do I see expansion happening next year? Maybe. Do I see it happening the year after? Probably more likely. It's my guess.
Agreed.
But I'm ready. We want to jump in as soon as we can for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, it would be a shame if it did go. That's why I brought it up. If it went to a vote, an in-house vote, and the teams didn't get it, it was someone behind the scenes pick it, and they just pick up like Cloud9's, TSMs that haven't been in this space, haven't been supporting it. No hate on them, but if they got the space over teams like yourselves, like it'd be a real dagger in it. I mean, it could potentially do a lot of damage to the space where orgs there's no that path to pro
Yeah.
system like for the business. It's not there, and it's like, oh, we're gonna step away.
That happened. That literally happened in Halo.
Yeah,
That when they first expanded, you had teams like KCP, who Kansas City Pioneers. They shown so much support. They won. They got a team that was basically a top 6 team, right? But technically not a partner team. They funded them. They did content with them. They housed them. They had a facility in Kansas. They fucking threw a LAN, like a warm up LAN, in Kansas City, in the fucking stadium of Kansas City, the football team. Like they went the extra yard, and then they didn't get picked to fucking be the expansion team, and other orgs that didn't show 10% of that effort, but because of a name, and now you're seeing that org that esports dying out. Why do you think that is? Because you're taking out the heart and soul out of it for what you think is numbers, follower counts. That doesn't matter. people wanted a KCP skin because they became fans of the team because they had that team for the whole year and a half or whatever, or the 2 years, and shown that they showed up every event. They did it everything the right way. They shown that they had the community background, the community support, and you guys still said no to it. And that was, I think, hopefully they learned from that, because like you said, I think it would be a big dagger to the community, and the community has a big say in all of this. You know, they're the ones paying the money to buy these skins and paying to get into these venues, paying for their flights to travel and support this scene. Don't make the same mistake again, because now those same people, a lot of the same orgs that are in both, are seeing that right now. It's like I've seen tweets of saying people like, I think from Space Station, saying like, man, there's orgs here not fucking trying
Yeah.
to do shit. They're not trying to grow Halo. You know, there's only a limited amount of, like, I mean, Optic and those guys are still trying, but like there's a lot who are not, and that hurts the scene. So you want people in here who want to be in here. You know, you have like LAG right now who clearly does not want to be in here. So like I'd honestly, it's best for them to leave, because you want to fill those spots with people who are driven and want to see this succeed
Yeah.
and want to do those extra steps. So I hope I'm right with that, and I hope we're not proven wrong, and they do the other side of things and choose orgs that haven't been part of COD Esports in a long time or ever, and just pick them because of a name. Like, it's just, I think it's unfair and injustice. But and I do think there are orgs that might have not been part of COD and probably will do a good job.
Yeah, there is that
But I
argument.
think like you got to give first dibs to those who are really like been here and shown that they want to be here and grow this scene. So
Yeah, I mean,
personally, that's my opinion at least. But that's out of my hands. I don't know how they're. I don't, like I said, I don't know how it works. I don't know if it's a team vote. I don't know if it's uh
how do they
if
operate
there's an
anything,
official
mate?
council. I don't know. I don't know. I think there's a formal process, but in the end, I don't know who decides.
Yeah, no. Fingers crossed, but yeah, for the love of God, don't make it happen. For the love of God, don't do any more damage to this space. I'm gonna withhold myself from this one. I'm gonna stop my tangent for maybe the first time ever. If you were to get into the pro league, right, would there be a WaR Academy in challengers, or would you probably just step away for challengers for the first couple of years? What would be the way forward with that?
Especially in the first year, I'd probably just focus on the pro team and growing that and making sure that's flowing. But I have other ideas I don't want to share in case it gets stolen,
Yeah,
of how to I'm gonna still support challengers, because I owe it to them. So no, there is, I will show support to challengers regardless. I have some ideas, like I said, that I just don't want to bring up publicly.
that's fine.
But if I was to get a pro team, I would, yes, I will still show support. Whether that's having an academy team right away, probably not. I will probably focus on first, like the first year or two, building up the pro team side and making sure we're building a winning culture there, and then bring in an academy team after the fact.
No,
Yeah,
yeah, fair.
that'd be probably my goal. But in those first 2 years or whatever, there's other ideas I already have in the back of my head right now, that ways of me showing support to challengers, because we need a pipeline. We need players to want to play COD, you know, and good ones, right? Who's the future of COD right now? Like, who do you think right now is the next 18-year-old? Who's a 16-year-old you can name me right now that's like gonna be the next Scrappy? It's very hard. That list is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, because we are not supporting the ecosystem. And if we don't, like, it's like us, like, it's like fucking like us shitting on college football and just like stop caring about it. We're gonna run out of good NFL players. We're not gonna have another Patrick Mahomes if we don't support college football, right? If we don't support the high school football programs, and you know what I'm saying, like, just going back to traditional ways, like, we gotta show love and support this scene. If not, it's gonna die, and then the major leagues is gonna die too.
Yeah, grassroots is everything, but I mean, I think they're starting to see it. I mean, I'm surprised it's took the 5 year period that it has. I don't know. There's no reason for it for me, but yeah, they need to invest in it because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing like incredible EU talent who are like, I'm not playing in a 2K. I'm just going to turn up to local lands, win some money then, and I'm going home and playing wages because there's no point me competing in this current ecosystem. And
Damn.
it's baffling to me. But they can sit there and earn a more sustainable living playing on CMG. It's
That's
like
crazy.
it's mental, and like the when new bloods are seeing it like that, it's concerning. But so fingers crossed, we got to be positive, right? Because if not, I mean, if we go
Yep.
down from here, then well, I don't know where we'll end up. So there can only be
Yeah.
one way. But I mean,
Yeah.
from an
Always be constructive. Yeah.
100%. I'm trying. I'm trying. They're giving us some stuff, things to work with. So I mean, I am positive. It's just, I mean, it's also good to be on the other side, right, where you have that slight concern. It's a conversation. I
Yeah.
enjoy a conversation, if nothing else. But the from a team war owner point of view, right? What is the ideal this space? What is the ideal thing for you? Like, how would it be? What would be your ideal format, seeing as you've been a part of, this franchise model, the challenger model, and the open bracket model?
You gotta go back to open bracket.
Yeah.
You gotta people like like you asked like what's our top favorite moments and stuff like, and I said CWL 2019 champs when we beat those teams. Like I think we did literally more impressions beating Genji and Splice than we did winning champs and challengers.
Wow.
Like, I mean, we did crazy good numbers. Don't get me wrong for winning champs in 2020 because of the storylines and all that stuff we built. But comparative to us, one, doing it on LAN, shocking the world, and doing that against the pro teams, it's just different. And we grew a lot from that. We went, we went viral and we like fucking tweets were endless, flowing. Um, so we need to go back to that. You need us, like playing against those big orgs helps a lot for exposure, and it's just easier to explain to somebody new down the street and being like, oh yeah, we're part of the same league. We just we're the amateurs, but we get to play them. Like we'll play Optic if we become the top 4 out of the amateur side on day 1 or whatever. Then we go against then we go and play against Optic and stuff the day after, and they're like, oh cool, and then they see us on stage with Optic, and then it's like, whoa, he's fucking legit. Versus having to explain that there's a pro league, and then now we're in like a AAA, like fucking whole different league, but we're in the same venue, but we don't play each other. And then they like, hopefully will buy our players so then they could go to the pro league. It's just like, it's different. And we got to go back. I think we got to go back.
Agreed, agreed. And I mean, I've looked at the time, and I mean, Jesus Christ, it's been over an hour already. I think we could talk.
Oh shit.
We could talk all day. So I've got a couple more, and then we'll get out of it. But I mean, content plans for the future. I mean, how high is that up on your list in this current ecosystem? Are you looking to push content with around challenges, around EU challenges, around your team? What's the plan with that? What's the vibe?
No, I mean content's. I mean, I always tell people content's number one. I think it's been tough because of the people's perspective of content has changed. More people want to see short form content.
Yeah.
They want to see fucking what's the class that Bance is using on his sub, so they're better at ranked. So we're attentive to that, and we're providing more of that kind of content versus before we were doing like more documentary style. I mean, if you haven't seen the Passion Pit documentary that Shostin did, watch that. One of our players was featured on that with Bance. That was fucking great. I've always wanted to do something like that. And hopefully one day we'll do our own version of like Team War storytelling. And I think it would be fucking special, especially if we get into like the CDL and kind of follow that journey from, because we recorded quite a bit since our inception. So it'd be cool to see the time lapse from where we started and into the process of getting into the league. But no, yeah, I mean we have Crim7 and Matt who are doing the Passion Pit podcast, and they're big fans of the challenger scene. When I'm there, we basically stream every single match. with a tripod. I'm telling you guys right now, if you're watching this and you're at these events, you're streaming these events, get a freaking tripod. God's sake, do not do the handheld anymore.
No,
And that goes for your team too. If you guys
I've done
don't
it
have a tripod,
once, never again.
buy a fucking
Yeah.
tripod. Nobody wants to see shaky hands. Neither do your forearms. That shit, it's
Your
painful. I've
back,
done
by the
it.
way,
It
mate.
hurts.
Your back by the end of the day, where you're like, oh my lord,
Oh hell
never
no,
never
no.
again.
So
Tripod in a
get a
second time.
tripod. Do it the right way. Um, I'll tell you even some little things I've learned. Go ahead, take it, but get those mic'd up like the wireless mics, the Rode mics. I don't know if I have them here, but basically you can either clip them onto the players. What I did is I put one in between the two left players, one in between the two far right players. And so when people are watching, you can't hear the gameplay, but at least they can hear the comms. So you can hear them communicating and you can see the gameplay, which is actually a cool element. So it's like a listening like the whole time.
I like
So
that. I like that a
that's
lot, by
something
the
that
way.
we did at Boston, and I think was a success. So there you go. You could take it. We have the Rode Mic 2 or something. I don't know which one we have,
You
but
can,
you don't have to go that expensive to be honest. But there's but
they,
that little touch is good.
yeah, they're like them. You can get them like
Yeah, like those.
15 pound. Shout out
Yeah.
Stingzy, by
So
the way. He actually just brought me that for no reason, as a gift. So
nice.
yeah, incredible, something like that. And that's a great tip, by the way. I've not seen many people do that. I like that. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
nicking it
so
myself.
yeah,
Quality.
I think of stuff up my sleeves, and like
Yeah,
I said though, like if I'm gonna let other people eat, because I'm tired of seeing like
yeah,
if you're capturing audio from behind their backs, you're not gonna get their comms until they scream like beans, then you'll hear it. But if you put it in front of them and you have them mic'd up, the audio picks up their chat, and then you get to hear them. You just got to warn your players and tell them like they're mic'd up, and so they can't be saying some wild shit.
yeah.
Because they could get in trouble. So my players are luckily professionals, and so we don't have to worry about that. But
No,
yeah, that's a little tidbit I'll give you guys.
thank you. No, do you know, I appreciate that, and I mean, there's a couple of there's a couple of right questions on there, or few and far between that we've probably covered anyway. So I'm going to throw it across to
Yeah.
guest time because it's already been an hour and 20 minutes, which has been a pleasure. So I mean, we use this time if there's anything you want to promote, anything you want to talk about that you haven't, or anything you want to ask me. You don't have to use this time and go straight to an outro if not, but ultimately, mate, it's all down to you. It's guest time, so fire away if you want.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me. I like what you guys are doing. Like I told you, like we haven't really talked a lot personally, but I keep an eye on people who are doing things but the right way, and I think Noctum has been doing great things. Shout out to Lady, who's been doing really good for you guys as well. And I like the event you guys held at with the Sphere and stuff in person. Like that's amazing content, and hopefully you guys keep killing it on that end. In regards to my team, they already know I love them a lot, and I appreciate them, especially the people behind the scenes working their asses off to get those graphics, the videos done, the clips, the social media presence, and keeping up with that. It's a lot of work, and a lot of people are doing this out of passion because they want to help see WaR grow places, and that's freaking awesome. So thank you guys so much for all the hard work. And I hope I'll continue making you guys proud. Other than that, I will also say this here. We are promoting one of my staff members who's been with us almost day one. Her name's Molly. Her real name's Molly. She goes by War Bandit. If you met her, she's an awesome person. And she's like been promoted to upper management. She's like a VP now, so she's got a lot of big shoes to fill in that sense of well, she already does it honestly, so it's just more title change, but it's cool to see people promote. I also recently promoted one of our designers, Caleb. He's a senior designer now, working with Dewey, and so I love seeing that. And you just always take care of the people who are taking care of you. The staff is everything. We're nothing without them. And stop losing to Steve-O, for fuck's sake. If I lose to Steve-O again, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. All right, so we got to start beating these guys consistently. All right, so that's all I'm gonna say. Fuck Omit. Team WaR to the moon, baby.
Oh, that's incredible. That's gonna go in an edit somewhere. That is. Oh, well, Kevin, mate, I must say, I thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute blast. The only thing I'm annoyed at is that we didn't do it sooner because I've had such a great time, to be honest.
Yeah,
So, if you're watching this on
absolutely.
YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, leave the review. And I mean, we're going to be dropping all of Kevin's, all of WaR socials down below. Go check them out, please, for the life of God. If you haven't checked them out before, go do. If you want to see WaR in the CDL, hit up their tweets. I mean, they're going to be flowing. Show the support because they've been so good to the scene for so many years. I think it would be an injustice if anyone said otherwise, that they don't deserve to be there, because let's be honest, they do. So fingers across for you on that standpoint. And again, Kevin, mate, I mean, just thank you so much, mate. It's been an absolute honour.
Absolute.
But
All right. Cheers.
until next time.